Hello, this is Heather with Creativity by Heather BE. I hope you're having a fabulous week. So today I am showing you a video using the new Therm-o-web Deco Foil Flock transfer sheets. So there are several techniques that you can use to apply the flock to your projects. And if you're not familiar with flock, what it is it's a very soft, almost velvety, so it gives some great soft texture to your projects. So the first technique that I'm going to be using is using stencils and using the Deco Foil transfer gel. So I've used this in many videos before, and I'll link a video above that shows different ways you can use stencils, which does include that transfer gel. So I am using some removable adhesive on a piece of black Raven cardstock, and I just received this new Pixie Spray, and this is also from Therm-o-web. And this stuff is so fabulous. You shake it up really well and you spray it on the back of your stencil, and it's a removable adhesive, repositionable adhesive and removable. So all you have to do is spray it and then put it down on your project and it stays put. It is wonderful because I was using so much purple tape to keep my stencil down and my card down, and this stuff is amazing. I think it's $9.99 retail at most places. You get a fairly large can of it, and it is wonderful. The one thing I will say in the next stencil that I'm going to use that is not filmed, but I did lay down a towel on my glass mat because it did kind of get all over my mat, but it cleaned right up. So I'm using the Deco Foil transfer gel, and I'm using a palette knife and just putting this all over my stencil. And what this will do is when it dries, which is going to be white when I lift up the stencil, but it will dry clear, and that will allow you to be able to put any type of foil, flock foil, or flock transfer sheets, anything like that through a laminator. So this is the second stencil I'm using, and it's a Studio Katia stencil, and it's called Bubbles, and I used it with Fawn Peacock. And I didn't leave in the part where I added the gel. It was the exact same way that I did the Simon Says stamp circle dots. So the second technique I'm going to show you, and those are off drying, we'll get back to those in a moment, but the second technique I'm going to show you is how you can take a die cut and add the flock to a die cut. And there are several ways to do this. This is one that I wanted to try, and it's using an adhesive. So I had Stick-It adhesive, and I know that Therm-o-web has an adhesive that will work for this as well. I just currently didn't have any. So the Stick-It adhesive, what I'm doing is I'm pulling back a panel of it, and this will basically make any cardstock, anything you have, into a sticker. So I'm laying down, and this is Nina 80-pound cardstock, on the sticky part, and I'm just going to cut around it. So about half of my sheet up has the Stick-It adhesive on it. And I'm not going to take that transfer sheet off. What I'm going to do is just lay my Hello die, and this is a die from Brutus Monroe. I'm going to lay it right on top of where I have the Stick-It and die cut it. So you can see it die cuts beautifully. The Stick-It is relatively thin, so I haven't had any issues ever die cutting with it. And I do keep a metal shim under my Big Shot machine, so that way any dies I put through will cut well. So this is the flock here, and the colors I'm going to be using today are Blue Diamond, which is what's here, Sunshine Yellow, and Think Pink. Sorry, forgot what that yellow was called. So I'm cutting a piece of the Blue Diamond, and now I'm going to remove the transfer paper so that stickiness is exposed on my die. And it's a very thin paper, as you can see, and I'm carefully removing it because this die is large, but it's pretty delicate as far as the font goes. So once I have that exposed, I'm going to take my Blue Diamond flock and I'm just going to lay it right on top. And to make sure I get a good transfer, I'm going to use my Teflon bone folder. And I'm going to start out on the front just to make sure those edges and stuff are down. And then I'm going to turn it over, and I am going to go to town, pushing, just making sure that that adhesive is really sticking to the flock. Because what's going to happen when we pull that off, the flock is going to transfer, as you can see right here. So you get this really pretty light blue. And there were some places where it didn't transfer completely, but it was okay because then the white just showed through. But this is a really cool way to add dimension and a really soft feel to any die cuts that you may have. So look through your Word die cuts or any die cuts in general, standalone die cuts, and kind of see what could you put the flock on. You can see how gorgeous that is. So my plan originally was to put that on the bubbles one. To put it on that one, the raven one, the circle dots. And what I decided to do was to put the sunshine yellow on the circle dots, and then to put the Think Pink onto the Lawn Fawn Peacock. And no, I am incorrect. It was supposed to originally go onto the Peacock. And if you paid attention to the pictures, you'll notice that it was not there. So I am adding this into my parchment paper. And one thing you want to make sure is that you lay it soft side down, so flock side down onto your Deco Foil gel. Okay, so it's completely dry, it's clear, and I'm going to run that through my laminator. And I have sped this up. My laminator is not that fast, I wish. And once this is done, I'm going to take off. I always keep a piece of cardstock in there, just kind of as a little bit of a shim. So I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to go ahead and run the other one through. And you can see as I'm starting to peel that back how gorgeous that is. So this is the second stencil. This is a Studio Katia Bubbles one. Look how beautiful that is. Just gorgeous on that peacock. And it's so soft and velvety. It just has such a great texture. So while I was pulling that one off, the other one was running through the raven with the sunshine yellow. And I'm showing you even the negative spaces are gorgeous, which is going to end up being our card if you paid attention in the beginning to the pictures. So when I peel this one back, I loved the color that it brought out. And so it kind of, and I love the stencil too. But honestly, that negative space, I just kept being drawn to that negative space, which I am going to end up using in my card. So I am using a Tonic brush here just to kind of go over and get rid of any of the loose flock. And this is our hello. So I ran this through a sticker machine also just to make it easier to lay down. And you're going to see, I left this in because I wanted to show you that, you know, sometimes the cards we have in our head don't always come out, but a lot of times we end up getting something better. So I am really struggling on where am I going to put this hello. And the reason I'm struggling with it is because I just didn't like it on this card. But this is what I had in my head, so this is what I was going with. So I put it down, gonna show it to you, and I just did not like it. So I'm going to take it off, and I'm gonna set that panel aside. And honestly, I wasn't real crazy about the way the yellow showed up on the black either. It kind of more had a brownish color, but I loved this negative piece. So I decided I was gonna cut it down to A2 size. And you'll notice that my Tim Holtz cutter does not have the little guard because when I first got it, I removed it. I don't know what I was thinking, and yes, I have cut my finger before, so do not remove your guard on your cutter. I'm going to end up getting another one. So I love this bright yellow, and as soon as I set that hello down on it, I knew that's what it was meant for. So I'm going to put that down, and I will show you later on how I attach that because remember, that's just the straight flock piece. That's not on cardstock or anything. So now I have my other card that I need to finish because I was going to put the hello on there. So what I decided to do was to cut a wavy banner and to use the Lawn Fawn Wavy Banner Sentiments. And I'm using a piece of Lawn Fawn Blue Jay cardstock. And I'm going to heat emboss Happy Birthday using Brutus Monroe embossing ink and also Alabaster White embossing powder. I'm going to add my embossing powder and heat set this, and I am going to use some foam squares to give this some dimension, and I love the way this card turned out too. I'm so glad that I went with my gut and I didn't do what was just in my head, that I actually went with what I saw visually and what I liked. So I'm going to add those foam squares and place that down, and that completes both of the cards with the exception of adding them on to their card bases, which for my card bases I use Nina 110 pound Solar White. Look how awesome that is. I just love this block. So here I'm showing you what I did. Instead of taking that flock transfer sheet and putting it directly onto my card base, I'm actually going to adhere it onto a piece of 80-pound Nina Solar White cardstock. And you could add this to any cardstock. And the reason I wanted to show you this is because I was not sure if using liquid adhesive if it would bubble up or anything, and it didn't. It stayed completely flat. It worked wonderfully. And so that is one way. If you do use a negative space, feel free to add liquid glue to it, as long as you don't overdo it, and it didn't bubble up at all. It looked wonderful. So now I'm just taking that card base and adding it on, or excuse me, that card panel, and adding it onto my card base, and that completes that card. So this flock was so much fun to play with. I highly encourage you to grab some, check it out. It's fairly inexpensive. I've got several places listed below that you can pick it up from. And if you're not a subscriber, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and also hit the thumbs up button. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful week.